أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. Verily harm has afflicted me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. Welcome everyone. We are today continuing on along with the message for the sick on page 280. Today we intend on doing the 20th remedy. And so inshallah, whenever Sarah is ready, you may begin, please. Thanks. So Sarah, if not, then we can pass it on to if Mariam or Rayan is available. Mariam?
Yes.
Can you please read the 20th remedy for us?
Yes.
All right, we can get started, inshallah.
Yeah.
So it's on the screen. Bismillah. Let's go for it. You're muted if you're reading.
I can try for you. Bismillah. O sick person who is searching for a remedy for his ills. Illness is of two sorts. One sort is real, the other imaginary. As for the real sort, the all-wise and glorious healer has stored up in his mighty pharmacy of the earth a cure for every illness. It is licit to obtain medicines and use them as treatment, but one should know that their effect and the cure are from Almighty God. He both gives the ailment and provides the cure. Following the recommendations of skillful, God-fearing doctors is an effective medicine. For most illnesses arise from abuses, lack of abstinence, wastefulness, mistakes, dissipation, and lack of care. A religious doctor will certainly give advice and instructions within the bounds of the lawful. He will forbid abuses and excesses and give consolation. The sick person has confidence in his advice and consolation, and his illness lessens. It produces as easiness for him in place of distress. But when it comes to imaginary illness, the most effective medicine is to give it no importance. The more importance is given to it, the more it grows and swells. If it's disregarded, it lessens and disperses. The more bees are upset, the more they swarm around a person's head, but they disperse if no attention is paid to them. Similarly, the more importance one pays to a piece of string waving in front of one's eyes in the darkness, and to the apprehension it causes one, the more it grows and makes one flee like a madman. While if one pays it no importance, one sees that it's an ordinary bit of string and not a snake, and laughs at one's fright and anxiety. If hypochondria is chronic, it is transformed into reality. It is a serious illness afflicting the nervous and those given to imaginings. Such people make mountains out of molehills, and their morale is destroyed. Then, if they encounter unkind, half doctors or unfair doctors, it further provokes their hypochondria. If they are rich, they lose their wealth, or they lose their wits or their health.
All right, Jazakallah khair, Sarah. So let's see if Mariam is back. So if Mariam, you're back, let's break it down a little bit, step by step. So let's go over the first paragraph. Mariam, you're there? So it's telling us, oh, sick person who's searching for a remedy for his ills. So that's really what we do when we're sick. We look for a cure for it. As when we have a problem, we look for a solution. Similarly, if I'm stuck in my homework at school, I look for help and tutoring or something of that sort. So it's in human nature to be searching for enlightenment. And so it seems that within the order in the universe, there is such a thing available, and I need to find it. Now, getting back to this message for the sick, the author is saying that illness is of two sorts. One sort is real, the other is imaginary. So let's see what sort is real and what sort is imaginary. It seems as if it's like two sides of a coin. So the real sort is the all-wise and glorious healer. As for the real sort, the all-wise and glorious healer has stored up in his mighty pharmacy of the earth a cure for every illness, okay? It is illicit to obtain medicines and use them as treatment, but one should know that their effect and the cure are from Almighty God. He both gives the ailment and provides the cure. This is an important point, and I feel that we constantly need reminders because it can be anything that we are interacting with, even with nourishment itself. So food, I may think that, oh yeah, food is providing me with the nourishment I need, or water is really, keeping me hydrated. But let's think more on that in terms of what the author is presenting it to us. Is things are employed. They're just a means. They're a means to quench my thirst. They're a means to provide me with a cure. So food is out there, different colors with different nutrients in it, and it's given existence as such, so to provide me with the essential vitamins and everything else that I need. And so when I'm sick, cure is out there, medicine is out there, so I just use it in the name of the one that gives me the ailment and then provides the cure. So I'm just going briefly over it, but like there's some points that I'm still trying to understand, but let's see if we can. I know you're also looking into it, so let's see if it goes that way, and then we can come back to it. So following the recommendations of skillful, God-fearing doctors is an effective medicine. Actually, for most illnesses arises from abuses, lack of abstinence, wastefulness, mistakes, dissipation, lack of care. A religious doctor will certainly give advice and instructions within the bounds of the lawful. He will forbid abuses and excesses and give consolation. The sick person has confidence in his advice and consolation in his illness lessens. It produces an easiness for him in place of distress. So now it seems that the paragraph is focusing on also the means out there. So like a doctor or anybody else, a medical practitioner, they're just a means in terms of directing me to the right treatment. And so they're not the source of existence of it. I don't know. So my takeaway from the first two paragraphs is that things are a means. They're not the source of existence. So I should be vigilant when I am interacting with the order in the universe, that the order is not the source of my cure. Rather, it's a means directing me to the one that gives cure. So I'm on the way to seeking the one that sets up the stage for me. And I'll pause here because I'm a little bothered with the illnesses are of two sorts, real and imaginary. So I know my friend here is wants to make comments, so let's hear from him. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Faria, for that introduction, for the reading also. So in this 20th remedy, the author is making a distinction between, as he said, two sorts of illnesses. One is the real one, that you maybe one is physically suffering from that illness. Let's say I have a cold or a flu, so I would go and try to treat that. Maybe I need to take more vitamin C. I need to eat maybe more citrus fruits, lemons and oranges, those kind of things. So that is the real sort. And the author is saying, okay, and before I go, the other one is the imaginary sort, which is not real. It doesn't exist. But so for the real one, as we go through our journey, we could get people get ill, I get ill, and there is the remedy for that, and I will look for that remedy. So I was giving the example, if I have a cold or flu, so I would try to take something more citrusy kind of treatment, drink maybe some tea. So the whole universe is like the pharmacy, and who is the owner of that pharmacy of this universe is the one who gives existence to it, the Almighty Creator. So the point here is also being made about, you do take the medicine, but realize that each and every effect, the results, everything is created by the one who owns the universe. So although we take the medicine, so we understand that it's not the medicine that is curing me, but the medicine, as Faria said, is like the means of taking it. So it's the means. So it's part of the order of the universe. But each and every moment, each and every event is actually given existence by the one who owns the universe. So yes, I will follow the order. I will drink that tea. I would eat that orange, right? But the orange is not the one that is curing me, or that tea is not curing me, or maybe the medicine that I'm taking is not the one that is curing me. So the one, because this is all part of the order that I'm doing. So the one who actually cures me is the one who owns the cure, the one who makes the tea, the orange, who gives existence to everything. So it's the one who takes away the health from me or gives me that cold or flu. Whoever is in charge of that is the one who gives me the healing as well. So as he said, it is licit to obtain medicines and use them as treatment, but one should know that their effect and the cure are from Almighty God. So pretty straightforward if we understand that we are belonging to the owner of the universe. This whole universe is like a pharmacy, his pharmacy. So we look for the cures, like for the treatments in this mighty pharmacy of the universe, and we find it and we follow that order, and it's perfectly legal and licit in how it is, because that's part of the order that we're following. And the cure, but we have to understand that the cure is provided by Almighty God. So the ailment and the cure are given by Almighty God. So this is for the real sort of illness. So that's the real one, right? And then the second paragraph also talks about the real one before the next two talk about the imaginary one, which is also medical term is called hypochondria, I think. We have a doctor also in this discussion, so he can also confirm that what kind of hypochondria, what kind of thing is that. But following the recommendations of skillful doctors. And
why does it say God-fearing doctors, like, and religious doctor? Like, what's up with? I mean, what's up with that language here?
So this is for me to understand, like because I'm the one. If I'm the one who's sick, so what is my understanding? Where is my sickness coming from? And who is the one that can cure me? Who's the one that can heal me? So the doctor is not actually the one who is healing me. The doctor is a means.
No, that's weird.
Just like
a religious doctor. So I gotta look into, when I'm doing my search, let me look into a God-fearing doctor. Let me look into a religious doctor. That
Okay, you can.
is throwing me off a little bit
Okay,
here.
sure. You can ask that to the group, and
Yeah.
they can. But I'm not really paying attention to that God-fearing doctor, because, to be honest with you, where I live here, I don't really look at that. When I need something, if I need to do any sort of business, I just go and I don't look for who is the God-fearing one. But this is the.
I mean, God-fearing one would be also, you look for like ratings and everything. If this is just, people look for ratings, right? So like, this guy seems good. This guy seems, what kind of ratings does he have from people?
But yeah.
That's the kind of research we do.
Yeah, so that's good, because we need to do that research, because most of the doctors now are just money-making machines.
Yeah.
they have network connections into
Yeah, but I'm trying
the
to say,
labs and the other.
what is
areas.
Nursi telling us here? Why is Nursi using religious doctor and God-fearing? What's the point here? Just regular doctor. I mean, does it make sense?
Yeah, you can replace that. It's just maybe a translation thing. But I mean, again, I don't pay much attention to that part, so I don't think it should throw me off. So a religious doctor will certainly give advice, instructions within the bounds of the lawful.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll ask it, the group here. But let's put that on the side. But the first two paragraphs, I mean, the interesting point about the sentence in the middle of the second paragraph: for most illnesses arise from abuses, lack of abstinence, wastefulness, mistakes, dissipation, and lack of care. That I thought that was interesting. That most of the illnesses are because of either we abuse something, in the order of the universe. Let's say it's cold outside and we're not keeping ourselves warm, so that's like not following the order. That's abuse. Lack of abstinence. We maybe at this stage I don't need to take that much salt intake or some particular amount of something, or sugar or whatever. So I need to abstain myself. So that is, if I abuse that again, or lack of abstinence in that sense, then of course that gives rise to something that is not correct in the way I'm created. Mistakes and dissipation, lack of care. So this is all ties into the way the order is and how I am aware of my environment, my surroundings, and what I need to do. So I think there's a hand up from Sohail. So Sohail, please take it away.
Yeah, just my own thoughts on this section. So he divides illness into two, as you all mentioned so far. Real and imaginary. So the way, I mean, I guess another way to phrase that is real as in being it has a, I guess, quote unquote material reality. So if I have a virus that's physical, so to speak, and then imaginary is how I view things, which can affect me physically, but it's my perspective. And with regards to the sort of physical illness, so to speak, there is a cure for every illness, as he points out. Otherwise, if there wasn't, then you wouldn't know him to be an all-wise and glorious healer. That would be a contradiction of sort. So in this regard, the first thing he points out, that also him being an all-wise and glorious healer, one, gives comfort and ease. That in and of itself, that healing belongs to him. And then secondly, as he points out, that by knowing that, you realize that all things are within his grasp or his power, because the medicine in and of itself has no power. So that also brings ease and comfort, as that all things are reliant upon him. Even the medicine you take, it has no effect in and of itself. And to me, why he brings in the idea or notion of God-fearing doctor and religious doctor is to take into account what he said in the first paragraph. Because, you know, you could say, I have some illness, I have, let's say, an infection, and somebody gives me medicine, and then I go on my way. But that kind of defeats the purpose of the illness to begin with, because you don't recognize that who's the one that's healing and who's the one who acts through the medicine. So the whole point of that experience is lost. Whereas a God-fearing and religious doctor would point that out. He's skillful in that he knows how the order of healing works in this world, but by doing so, he also points to the fact that those things have no power. And what he also acknowledges, which I am in agreement with Norsi, is that the vast majority of human illness pertains to one's choice by, as he says, abuse or lack of abstinence. So excessive consumption, ingestion of, drugs or things that one shouldn't be taking. That's the vast majority of human illness stems from these things. Or not being careful about your well-being. And that also pertains to one's choice. But when you sort of neglect those things, in a way, you're kind of also neglecting the creator, because you're not paying attention to, how you're made. I guess it kind of ties into his discussion about frugality. And when the ill person does take this into account, this advice, then his life becomes better. One, in regards to he realized things are being given, so he's careful about his intake, careful about how he utilizes his health or body. And then also, when he is ill, that any sort of cure belongs to the healer. And then in regards to imaginary illness, as he points out, it pertains to how you view things. So you can make something that doesn't have any sort of physical reality out there in your imagination becomes real, but it has no corresponding physical reality. So I can imagine I'm ill even if I'm not. And that causes as much pain, if not more, than being ill itself. So what he really boils it down to is that you can be ill or not ill, but what matters is how you view things. How you view your state in a state of illness, how you view yourself in a state of illness, or how you view yourself in a state of well-being. Your worldview matters, and how you consider things matters. And what that comes down to is your choice, how you choose to interpret things. So even if you're ill, you can have a positive worldview and see that you can be healed, that you're being healed or taken care of by an all-wise, as he says, an all-wise and glorious healer. Or not. That's up to you.
Thank you, Sohail, for sharing your beautiful thoughts and reflections. I like how you tied it to the frugality in terms of most of the sicknesses that arise are because of our lack of comprehension of who the owner of things are, and our relationship kind of, when we forget that, then many of those things that we interact with are abused, and we even abuse our own human selves, our body including, and that does lead to problems in our system, and which is also, we've been discussing this section, like how everything becomes a means to communicate with your Lord. And I like that how also you kind of explained the concept of God-fearing doctors and religious doctors. So at least they would definitely help in a way that their service would be along the lines of the what you call licit way of nobody would say that, hey, this is my own way of treating someone, or this is my own. It's whoever is there, every individual is made by God, the medicine is made by God. And so the whole universe that is being used, that with that understanding that they are created beings and within their ability they're employed. So that does bring perspective into how the treatment and the relationship happens. But so that's the first two paragraphs. I know, Faria, you would like to add anything?
Yeah, I guess first of all, I just wanted to highlight my main takeaways from what was shared is that my relationship with creation, it's actually, or points to my relationship with the source of my existence. So I think this part, for most illnesses arise from abuses, lack of abstinence, wastefulness, mistakes, dissipation, and lack of care. So I think it's really connecting with my relationship with the source of my existence, where obviously I'll be prudent with how I'm interacting with its creation, be it in any form, intake of something or usage of something, because everything is within the order, and the order is set up by the one who's teaching us, who's training us. So that's a main highlight for me. And the other part that got clear was just like Asim also mentioned, the religious and God-fearing doctor. I think how many of those are out there in terms of that would help the human spirit. Yeah, that would help the human spirit, because whose human spirit gets in distress. So we need more of people who help heal the spiritual side, not just, hey, prescribe medication and that's it. It just becomes like very superficial, just like if you have a little wound, yeah, put a band-aid. No, rather helping the human spirit realize that, wait, question the source of existence of it, and then sort of like feeding the spiritual side of the human being, or quenching the spiritual thirst of the human being, or in other words, educating or training the human spirit. So I think things are like a means in terms of they're employed by the source of existence, and even those means, they gotta help us. The whole universe should work in a way where everything becomes like a messenger that connects my spiritual side, so I'm put at ease in place of distress, just like the author mentions here. It produces as easiness for him in place of distress. Because to be honest, like I don't want to get into the whole medical jargon, but like all these technical words, just put people to distress, right? It's like a condition, and we name it, and just create anxiety and everything, rather than sort of working it out, like who's giving this into existence? How do you even how do you explain the existence of a small cell or particle within your body, and suddenly how everything is just functioning? So I think drawing one's attention to the existential side of things, so the spirit can be at ease that I'm being trained here, and I have an owner here who's taking me into this existential journey, because this universe is not permanent. It's not it. So I'm just here to learn something. So that was helpful. Jazakallah khair, both of you.
No, that was good. So I noticed you used the word spirit a few times. So I think that was important to highlight also. That somebody who looks at a human being, not just a physical body. It's not like like you look at a car mechanic or something, there's no difference. If somebody just looks at the human body just like a physical being. So that whole human being, human aspect, as you said, is important, to whoever, in our encountering and in our, the way how we communicate. So for me also, it's something important to realize and learn that, whenever I look at it, I look at the things having a meaningful side to them as a, individuals, and everything has a spirit side to them. They're not just physical, mere bodies. And of course, everything ties into, realizing who the glorious healer is, who is the maker, who is the owner of this universe, who is the absolute doctor of, of every being, of every individual. So, and were there some comments or something?
This is interesting, actually. The all-wise and glorious healer. I know we just take it for granted. I mean, I do read these words like it's big, glorious healer. Like, how many times do we get sick and then we get healed? But like, just the way the author is presenting it, the glorious healer, the one that's worthy of praise and worship. That was enlightening. Thank you. Let's see if there's anyone who wants to make a comment or something. If not,
was there any chat or something?
No, let me see, that was from before. Oh no, look at that. Brother Adam has a comment. How come it doesn't show here? Let me see. Okay. Brother Adam, go ahead, please. You put down some comments. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I put those comments back in the beginning. Well, not beginning, but like when we were starting, when you were asking those questions for Riha about where do you find these doctors? I think there's definitely a shortage of these doctors out there. That this was the sentence: following the recommendations of skillful, God-fearing doctors is an effective medicine. That's an interesting sentence, and I think many of you already said these points, so I don't need to go back into it. But yeah, that really caught my attention, and it almost seems as though the doctor is not the kind of doctor you are accustomed with, because no one in the doctor community usually that we call doctors usually are like this. Skillful, God-fearing doctors, okay, but I think the more descriptive part is what's already been said, this issue of illness arising from abuses, lack of abstinence, wastefulness, mistakes, dissipation, and lack of care. And it was also said about how frugality, this relates back to frugality, but I think at the heart of these issues is still a like it was described, but a kind of belief, understanding inside of this doctor, or inside of this treatment, or this recommendation, or anything that's given from the doctor, that so look at the things not from thank you, I'll be right in 1 second. Look at it from the perspective of who you are, what you are, and what is responsible for this, what you're going through. And if you think about it, this is the more important issue, and it can alleviate the sickness, and it takes the focus off of the sickness also, which is, I think, maybe this issue of imaginariness. But anyway, the doctor will not try to prescribe something that is not in line with you realizing who you are, what you are, and what is responsible for what's going on. So when I think when I read these words, illnesses arise from abuses, lack of abstinence, wastefulness, etc., this all has to do with not knowing what you are and not knowing what's responsible for the things here. So this doctor, God-fearing doctor, is concerned with helping you understand this. And so I had some other thoughts like they're escaping me, but yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think these are points that were said. This issue of imaginary illness was interesting. I recently met somebody who had a physical deficiency, whatever we call it, a physical deficiency. I don't believe it is now, as we read something like this. And I was talking with them and saying, "Oh, how do you handle this?" And I said it, and the person looked at me, acknowledged what I said, but said, "I don't even listen for 1 second if someone says this. Like it doesn't. I never. In other words, like I don't let this thing even come to my mind that I have this deficiency at all." And that has made them very effective in their work because it affects some work that they do. So it really made me think about it. And then recently, I also, my own sickness, I had some sickness recently. And when I started to tell some people around me what was going on, they started making a big deal, like, "Oh, what was it like? What was this? What was that?" And I said, "Well, but," and the more I thought about this, it became alive. The sickness became alive as I was going through it. But the more I never considered it, the more I went to the other side meaning the side of trying to be conscious about what I am and what is going on, really what's going on. I felt so at ease. I felt like it was nothing at all. Even I had to be reminded that I was sick. I didn't even think about it that I was sick, even though I was in a very difficult state or whatever. I'm not trying to make a big deal about myself, but I'm just saying. But that really forget totally that there was even a sickness in a lot of ways. And I felt very high-spirited, very about what was going on. And so if someone asked me then, how was it? How are you feeling or something? And I had said, I'm okay, I'm fine. It's nothing. I don't talk about it at all. And so they couldn't believe it. And I think it just goes to show that we put so much emphasis. But one, the direction we face is the wrong direction because we are not looking in the perspective of let's say, what the God-fearing doctors are trying to tell us and teach us. But then two, there is so much importance given to giving it significance. And that is, I think, a very, that, as I said, enlarges the sickness, makes it worse, makes it bigger, makes it more significant than it really is. So those are some of my thoughts. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Adam, for sharing your comments and reflection. Yeah, I agree in terms of the more, if we make a big deal of something, obviously it grows bigger in terms of how we deal with it. But the moment we put it aside and just, focusing on other things as well, then, it's easily manageable. Otherwise, we can just be blindsided just by, this is it, it's the end to it, rather than missing the big picture of the whole existence. So that was interesting. Would you like to say something?
That's good. So the example Brother Adam shared, I think that leads to the next two paragraphs also about hypochondria, or this imaginary kind of sickness.
Mm.
And that example was spot on. To if one pays attention to something, the more one pays attention, the more significance it gains. I think about let's say I'm in a work environment. If I think about something, sometimes I think, look, if I just pay too much attention to it, this becomes like a big deal. But if you just leave it, and then don't pay much attention to some of the things that are bothersome, or just ignore, just let them go. Otherwise, this is what the imaginary kind of illnesses are. They are non-existent. They don't exist. There's nothing. One can just go on and on, conclude about, oh, if this happened, then this would have happened. This could have, this would have been the situation. But these are all imaginations. They're not real. Take the step, and whatever you're in the present stage, you are in that stage. That's it. Make whatever you conclude, whatever your experience is. I would just go with that experience. I mean, we can plan for the future, but that state of imagining something, especially an illness, or like I will not be able to do such a thing, or this will, it will disable me in such a way, God forbid. But this is the imagination we need to just not pay attention to, because it is unreal. It's not real. And that's what the most effective medicine, according to the author, is do not pay importance to that.
So what I understand from what is being shared is that any event, if I utilize it for the purpose that it ought to be utilized for, as in to fulfill the purpose of my existence, then that's reality. Okay, that makes sense. And so I can choose to look into it that way, or I can choose to look at it into, oh my God, this is it. Just either paying attention to it, that's it, this is it. So then it becomes imaginary, where I'm not using it for its purpose. So yeah, I think with this lens now, I think this makes sense, this imaginary part. And with what the author is mentioning in that paragraph. So,
and the author gives some examples also, right? The more the bees are upset, the more they swarm around.
Oh yeah,
let's say I'm sitting in
the
garden, and some bee comes to me, and I just start jumping around, and then the more it will get agitated. Or if or let's say you're passing by some stray dogs,
Let's stick with the bees. The bees is very experiential. I think it's personally very much experienced, actually, the bees.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like, yeah, I think.
But if you don't pay attention to them, then they don't bother you. Interesting, right? That's
to my food. They do. Okay. There are some exceptions. Okay. I don't know what hypochondria is.
That's what imagination is.
Hypochondria is a mental illness. Really?
They classify.
Let me Google. Oh, I can't.
Like the imaginary kind of illness.
Let me see. Hypochondria.
It's a condition. Like if somebody just pays attention.
Hypochondria.
But you can check it.
Hypochondria is a condition in which a person is excessively and unduly worried about having a serious illness. As in, your person is not ill. Are you serious? So it's like a psychological state. I mean,
it's your perception, and based on one's perception.
Like a phobia kind of thing, which is.
I mean, I'm not too familiar with the technical details of it, but it's the imaginary illness. It's not something that is non-existent and imaginary.
Yeah.
So as you said, like for example, we were giving about the example of the bees. If you don't pay attention to it, so I'm imagining basically the bee is gonna sting me, but that's imagination. It hasn't stung me yet, right? Just by looking at the bee, and the bee is swarming around me, I'm just thinking that's gonna.
It's gonna. It does actually happen. So let's see. This is like practical. Like you see a dog coming, and like, oh no, he's gonna come and jump over me. So that's like imagination, and it actually happens. So it becomes reality.
So if you pay attention to it, yeah, it becomes reality.
What is this? I'm confused.
It's magic.
No. Like, oh no, there's this dog coming in, and it's actually gonna jump in, and it actually jumped.
Fariha, if I can add, I was
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I was in a conversation with another halakha group, and he was sharing some truth that they call the laws of attraction, where it seems that the order which the creation follows is what you guys are saying, that when we simply just desire something, and in his example, he was saying if you just write down your goal, in writing it down, there's already facility that comes to help you achieve it. And they call that the laws of attraction. But from my understanding, from studying with Dr. Ali and Dr. Yamina, is that they're in that excessive talk that happens inside. It's like making a dua. It's like a fi'ali dua. It's like, you're thinking about something excessively so much that it's almost unknowingly or maybe unconsciously a request for it to happen, so much so that when someone is so worried about something, and it shows the very close connection that our body really follows almost like the command of this, I guess, spirit. So when the spirit is at ease, even if when somebody is sick, the body will feel ease. But when the person's, mind, or I guess spirit, is then just polluted with these thoughts of what they call hypochondriac here, the ailment will necessarily, by the order, come. Yeah, I guess I'll just say that for now, since I have.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing this. I really want to hide under the table right now because this sounds not scary, but wow, like I feel like.
Sorry, if I can just add, and the brother that shared this gave an example of like real life examples of this guy that was paralyzed, and he wrote a book, and I'm not sure the person was famous, but they told him he would never walk again, and each day he practiced visualizations of himself walking and didn't let the words of the doctors discourage his spirit. And then sure enough, he was able to walk again. And this brother was then using the words attitude and visualization as the route to facility of well-being. So subhanAllah, like that's an amazing truth. And it reminded me of what you said, Fariha, when you pointed out glorious healer. How glorious is that? Like truly, that someone can desire healing and visualize it and wish for it, and then subhanAllah, it's given.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of this. So now they do say about the whole thing about, your thoughts change your world and everything. So
It's the
perception also, but that I'm thinking also, like I'm in control of my thoughts. So like sometimes you're just thinking. And even like, yeah, I'm thinking of controlling the thoughts, the emotions. You're in control of that in terms of like maybe
free will.
How you deal with them.
You have the choice to either pay attention to something or not pay attention to something.
It's
within the human choice.
So, wow, this is, I'm sorry, like I can't. Can you please? There's a lot of reflections going on here. Like even on the spot, like in the moment sometimes, like, oh no, and you feel like, oh no, this dog is gonna come and jump over. And I'm just saying, right? And you're just thinking, and it's right there and then. There's nothing you can do. I'm like, oh no, and then yeah, that happens. So I think it's the thoughts that are occurring to me and things happen. Or I don't know. This is
So the importance one pays to it.
So if I'm not
You know,
thinking
like,
that, but the dog is still
I'm
coming
sure you've
towards
met
me,
people
like,
when you talk about little thing and they just make it a big, mess out of it. Oh, that's this one tiny little
yeah. That's called marketing.
nonsensical thing, and they just make it like, oh man, you need this thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's called marketing. Advertising is mostly that's how it works.
Making a big deal out of something.
Yeah.
It's playing with emotions. It's playing with
Yes.
the human psyche.
Right.
But this whole thing also, the point that Sarah was mentioning, that things become like a prayer. So whatever you're thinking, it becomes a prayer, which is good. Like some thoughts that are given, but some thoughts you're choosing to be, for it to be given existence. I don't know. I'm still like, sorry, wrapping my head around it, but any comments from anyone would help. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. If hypochondria, which is Hatice Beza, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Just some reflections, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit, but then come back to the point that we were talking about, hopefully. Just, about what Brother Adam had said, making a big deal of something. So if I find that I myself am making a big deal out of something and it grows out of proportion for me, that is directly linked to viewing that event out of its proper due context. So I guess from one perspective, we could say that I look at the event by itself without necessarily considering the purpose of existence of that event, or who or what is bringing into existence and what purpose it serves. I sever that relationship between whatever it is that I'm experiencing and the possibility of it even serving a purpose, and hence then it just takes up my entire mental space, because there is no room left for meaning in that relationship with whatever it is that I'm experiencing. And as a result of that, if I do view it out of its proper due context, then I suffer 100 wounds, if you will, more so painful than whatever I may be physically suffering, because of, I guess, the power of my imagination, which, is very extensive and wide and has infinite spectrums within it of what could be. But also, when the author says abuses, lack of abstinence, wastefulness, mistakes, and dissipation, and lack of care being, the main cause of many illnesses, then hypochondria then being a direct result of this as well, in that I abuse abilities given to me due to not viewing that illness in its proper context. So that experience of hypochondria or whatever else is just another instance of the manifestation of seeing the universe as happening haphazardly, or not as a result of a conscious will here and now. I think that's directly linked to one another. And so I think all at the same time, I'm always, as Sarah was saying, like it can become a sort of dua. I'm always in a state of prayer. And depending on how I view myself within my own existence, within this universe, and whether or not I sever my relationship from the source of my existence and what kind of relationship I am basing everything on, it reflects the sort of dua or the sort of prayer that I am making. And I think the human being, in a way, is always in a state of prayer, regardless. And the state of prayer, or the direction of the prayer, is always based on or shaped by how I view myself, or as Brother Adam was saying, who who am I? Why am I here? Or what does it all look to? What is the purpose? What is the proper context for which this is due?
Jazakallah khair, Hatice. You know, what you shared reminded me of lyrics from a song, as in, you know, the meaning in the lyrics, like, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it all. And so I'm thinking also this putting a limit into my, I don't know, I really have to think about this, but yeah, I think we are in a worship mode all the time. Because like some thoughts, I cannot control them. And I think that's the point. Like some I can, some it's, I don't know. Or maybe I think it's really my perception of it, then the free will comes into play. But that would be something interesting to explore, at least. Yep, thank you for the comments just thus far. Is there anyone else who wants to make something? I know Mariam Ostermer has been writing some thoughts here and there. Would you like to share anything with us? Okay.
I do have some notes so far, but did we finish the 20th remedy?
No, we did not finish the 20th remedy, so perhaps let's finish it up, inshallah, and we can listen up to your notes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If hypochondria is chronic, it is transformed into reality, as in, yeah, I think it's, yeah, it goes back to what pretty much everybody said. It becomes like a prayer. So if you're obsessed with something or something, okay. It is a serious illness afflicting the nervous and those given to imaginings. Imaginings as in imagination. Imagination. This, the sense of imagination. Oh, wow. It's amazing, actually. Yeah, so such people make mountains out of molehills and their morale is destroyed. Okay. Then if they encounter unkind, what? Unkind half doctors or unfair doctors? What does that mean? I'm sorry, this is just too much. If they encounter unkind half doctors or unfair doctors, it further provokes their oh, I see. So unfair doctors would be like the one just making a big deal. Oh, you gotta get, you know, take this, you gotta get this done, you gotta, they scare you off. And
yeah, they will label it, oh, you have the condition of hypochondria.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, okay, now how much can I milk out of this guy?
Okay, and if they encounter unkind half doctors, that means that the ones who are like the God-fearing religious ones. So you're still a doctor, but
So
you're
those are the kind
helping
ones, but-
people's spirit be at ease.
Right, those are the
Okay.
kind ones.
So if they are rich, who's rich?
Whoever is suffering from hypochondria.
Oh, they lose their wealth,
Yeah, because they'll be paying
or
for it.
they lose their wits. Their wits, as you know, the whole wisdom part, they would lose because they got lost with the whole medical terminology. Okay. All right. Alhamdulillah, I think this is it for now. So if anyone has nothing to add, then I think we would all like to hear from Mariam Ostermer, if anyone has nothing to say. Okay, so Mariam, the floor is yours, please. Let's hear from you.
Okay. So my first note for the 20th remedy was we constantly rate people. Most illnesses come from abuses, lack of abstinence, wastefulness, mistakes, dissipation, and lack of care. That came from the text. If you're sick, you go to a doctor and take medicine he gives you. Then you go on with your life. It defeats the purpose of illness. An illness is given to a person because there is a message, something your creator wants you to see or understand. Nothing is yours. Everything is taken and as easily as it's given. This was the next note is like sort of my question to myself. After this, someone can feel free to answer if they want. Should a person fear God? Wouldn't one love God? Doesn't fearing something put a distance between you and the thing you fear? Aren't you very close with him? If you make something big in your mind, it will become big. Whatever you purposely think about becomes a prayer. And that was my last note.
Jazakallah khair for your notes. I really like the last one. Whatever you think becomes a purposeful prayer. That's that's a good reminder. And you had some good yeah, thanks for sharing that. The question about should I be fearing God and shouldn't I have a loving relationship with God? These are all legit questions. I think that's what all of us are pondering over in terms of trying to be more sincere in our relationship with the source of our existence. But let's see if anyone else wants to share or add anything. Mariam, Syed, do you want to make some comments based on this, on what you heard from Mariam Ostermeyer? Feel free to do that. I actually would love to hear everyone's thoughts here. So anything that comes to your mind. Okay.
I think that's an important question. Mariam Ostermeyer asked about the fear of God and loving God, because it does make a difference on how one sees or their relationship with your owner, with your Lord. If you see him as a fearful one, then of course, that's what you'll get. But if you see him as a loving one, and that's what source of you're looking for your relationship, although you know that everything in existence, if you think about it, is only coming out of love and mercy. So it's again, one is free to decide, use their free will on what kind of relationship they would like to have with their owner. And that goes along with many other relationship with the things in the universe, whatever he creates. Everything has to do with one's perception and how one sees and the creation of things. So that's what I would say.
Thank you for sharing this. All beautiful comments. Jazakallah khair, everyone. Anyone else wants to say something, an expression? Or I don't know, if not, then we're gonna move on to the next remedy.
Freeha, I guess the only thing else that came to my mind as a separate example would be like, for example, the person that is always saying, I'm so tired, I'm so tired, I'm so tired, then you will always find yourself without energy, because you've already put this state of being as your perpetually repeated state. Whereas the person who will say, I will find the energy, inshallah, or, and they have this like initial attitude, they'll also find that. And I know that, that's kind of a step back from illness. But it's just so valid and so beautiful that I think like Brother Suhail was saying, it's like two perspectives that the author is laying out for you, how to approach, your attitude on your well-being, despite whether you have a physical ailment or not. And just about the question about love and fear, it's a very good question. I know we've discussed it at length in past halakas, but in short, I would just say, like, the more that we seek to get to know the Creator, and the more you see how this being is taking care of everything and taking care of you, the more you start to have a relationship and love this being. And then the more that you fear disappointing someone, you kind of just fear not being able to thank this being for always taking care of you. That's all.
Jazakallah khair, Sarah. These are beautiful comments as well. So yeah, I'm really stuck, or my main highlight right now is really that my thoughts becomes prayers. I think we experienced that, but it's just, whoa, that's just like a direct communication going on with the source of my existence. So we don't realize it, we don't recognize it. It happens a lot, and then you're like, wow. Now, like, the more you ponder over it, it seems like almost like you are in a direct connection or communication with the source of your existence, and we may not realize it. I think it's us. I distance myself from the source of my existence. But like, if I really look at every event, just like the examples we give, like really anything, just sitting outside, bees coming to you, or just a dog coming to you, or anything, then you're like, it's, I think the training is living with this awareness where at every step of the way you are being spoken to, I would say. Alhamdulillah, that was great. Thank you all for sharing and contributing. Okay, so let's move on to the 21st remedy, inshallah. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's, let me see who, yeah, we can ask, is Mariam Sayed available to read?
I'm available to read.
Rayan, so good to hear from you, bro. Go ahead.
21st remedy, right? Yes.
You got it.
Okay. 21st remedy. My sick brother, your illness is accompanied by physical pain. However, you are surrounded by a significant spiritual pleasure that will remove its effect. For if your father, mother, and relations are with you, their most pleasurable compassion, which you have forgotten since childhood, will be reawakened, and you will see again the kind looks you received in childhood. In addition, friendships envelope you that had remained secret and hidden. These, too, look towards you with love through the attraction of illness. In the face of these, your physical pain is reduced to insignificance. Also, you have become a master of the masters, since those whom you used to serve proudly now serve you kindly at the decree of illness. Moreover, you have attracted towards yourself the fellow feeling and human kindness in people, and so have found numerous helpful friends and kind companions. And again, you have received the order from your illness to rest from many taxing duties and are taking a rest. For sure, in the face of these immaterial pleasures, your minor pain should drive you to thanks, not complaint.
Thank you, Rayan, for reading this 21st remedy. Would you care to share your immediate impressions or any immediate points or comments you have from this?
Maybe like your illness, like even though it's a lot, you should just still be thankful that you're alive and you can't be complaining. And it says, in the face of these, your physical pain is reduced to insignificance, and you're acting like you're insignificant. You have to have significance in you, even though you're still ill. Like stop complaining, like that you're helpless. You should still be significant.
And what I understood, sorry, I was praying. So what I understood was that, like I think I give this example all the time, but mostly everything I understand from these stories is that you should be thankful and you should not question any of the things that came from your creator, because it came to you for a reason.
Oh, Jazakallah khair, both of you, for your reflections on that. And I think I'll start with the thankfulness part. I think that's what we all need to work on in terms of when we experience any undesired event, look for its source of existence. Just also, like Rayan said, don't complain. And I think, I think if we are to look at it from a different perspective where it helps us with our existential questions and answers, then I think the illness then serves its purpose, as in it becomes a messenger speaking to us about our real condition or about our reality, that who we are in our createdness. So yeah, that was good. Thank you both. Let's see. Yeah, I think, these are the author's reflections, actually, like this text we're reading, and it's interesting how he goes, like, relating it to different our experiences we have with creation, and like, even he's bringing up the whole human journey where we have childhood memories and even friends, and how everything around us, also just like Miriam said, has a purpose. Things are given existence due to a purpose. And yep, that was good. Yeah, I mean, in the face of these immaterial pleasures, your minor pain should drive you to thanks, not complain. I think focusing again on the qualities that we interact with, if we are pleased with it, then it means that we're pleased with the source of existence of it. And so the pain or the illness serves its purpose. And then if something serves its purpose, then it becomes minor thing. Brother Adam, go ahead, please.
Thank you so, Michael. There's a lot of beautiful things that come out of being sick that we don't realize. Maybe the lifestyle and way we live nowadays, but it's not just this, but it's true. What he's saying is true. When you're sick, it invokes sympathy and mercy from those who are around you. I mean, only a kind of heartless person would not care and would be treating you like nothing. And it's also really interesting that this sickness issue gives you such a valid reason for taking rest and not having to do something. Like, in a way, like, I was thinking for myself, but I I have a lot of children, and I have a lot of things going on, and so I was getting exhausted, and then I couldn't find a way to take any time off and get like relaxed. Even if I took vacation from my work and my other things, I was still really exhausted and still tired. I had so many things going on. But interestingly, when you get sick, it's like a complete shutdown of everything, and it's total rest in a way, in ways that you can't do it in my mind in any other condition. I don't think it's possible the way that it is in illness, through illness, and it's a kind of complete rejuvenation in a way too, because it takes you from. I mean, it's not like I'm making sickness sound great, but I'm just saying that if you think about it, there's really no ways to get something like that, both from the compassion side and nor from the rest side. And so it invokes such human issues and feelings in our relationships, even, that it almost is like I know there was a section about the social effects of it, which is also mentioned here. But if you think about it, it's a very comprehensive thing. It's a very wise thing, and it also helps you to rekindle kind of these, your childhood issues with issues, childhood feelings towards your parents, your family, the people who are around you, and then even your own ability to rest and find your strength back again, that is not possible in any other way. So it is very interesting. It's very wise. It's making me really like smile and laugh when I'm reading this now, thinking about it.
Just like Allah khair for sharing your comment. It reminds me that how to view illness now. It's just like a beautiful tree of paradise with fruits in it. Like you said, that it brings some beautiful gifts and blessings that help us connect to the purpose of our existence. And I mean, that is the state at the end of the day. Like nobody wants it, but it does, you're right, bring in a lot of reflections that makes us be appreciative of everything that's given to us, just like Miriam pointed out. And I think, and also just being more thoughtful with just creation in general and the source of existence, because I mean that's the real relationship, like how the author mentioned the all glorious healer. I think it's to recognize that, and then because after sickness is gone, again we go on with our routines, heedlessness, and then again something strikes, then you're like, whoa, okay, yes. So it's an interesting human journey with lots of educational opportunities to learn and develop from. Brother Adam, you still have your hand up. Is that from before? If not, then please go ahead. Okay, it's from before. All right. At this point, anyone else wants to make a comment or something, or do you want to say something?
No, as the comments are coming, like Adam said about the physical pain becomes less significant if you think about what is the benefit, beautiful things that come out of that sickness. It's normally not really talked about, it's really not thought of. Mostly always is seen as a negative. Whenever somebody's ill, nobody thinks about the positive side of it. And I think the examples that were given, I think highlighted that also, that it's given, first of all, to connect you to whoever gives you. So that's the important part, that whoever your owner, whoever is taking care of you, has given you for some reason. So try to take the advantage of that opportunity. And it also, there's that spiritual pleasure that the author also mentions here. And the example he gives about certain feelings and certain things that are rekindled, reestablished, the friendship that you may have forgotten, all of a sudden, they touch you, that people start calling you and asking about you, and you're everybody starts, kind of being concerned about the sick person. So it does have some significant benefits as well, but the most important, I feel, is the one where you establish your connection back to your Lord. I feel, although there are those other aspects, but again, everything leads you to your connection with your Lord. Even your friends or your family, whoever is taking care of you, and you experience the qualities again, that you see the compassion, the care, taking care of, the mercy, and and some other things that are not that significant. They get their rightful, you understand what is the priority in one's life. It puts the priority into perspective. So yeah, that's what I took away from whatever you guys said.
Yes, good point. Thank you for sharing this. All right, let's see. Anyone else wants to chime in with their comments or something? It's interesting, right? These reflections from the author. It's some of it is, it's just to the point, but we really need to make it applicable to our life conditions. And let's see, I'm just skimming through it. So while I'm doing that, feel free to raise your hand or say something. I think, yeah. This is very interesting. Moreover, you have attracted towards yourself the fellow feeling and human kindness in people. So maybe, I don't know. I'm just saying, again, me thinking.
That's good.
Sometimes our perception may seem like, oh, I'm not getting the kind of care or maybe respect from people around me. And then, I was thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, but that's just a perception. But the author is mentioning that it's legit. If you're feeling sometime this way, it's real. So it's sort of putting a validation stamp on that, because I think I've had a I had this issue, like, growing up. But it's interesting. No, and again, like with these Quranic guidance, like these halakas, we would say, no, it's our perception. But the moment I change my perception, things change. But like here, the author is what he's laughing about. But here, the author is saying that it's legit. So it does. So sometimes whatever you feel, it's not your own like drama. It's not your own doing. It's if you're sincere within yourself, then this is it. Oh God, just sharing, what's out there. Inshallah, it can benefit someone. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Is it, because there's also a lot of human drama within ourselves. And then a lot of time, with these discussions, we say, change your perception. This is how you're viewing it, you're feeling it. But the author here is saying that, no, you have attracted towards yourself the fellow feeling and human kindness in people. Maybe it's just more of it. You get more of it now. You're like so happy. Anyways, so. Did somebody want to say something? I heard unmute microphone. If not, then I think we can. Should we move on to the next one, or we can stop for today? Yeah. All right. I think somebody said something. Oh my God, Maryam Ostermeyer, look at that. Your notes, please. Let's hear your lovely voice, inshallah.
I only had 3 extra notes for this remedy, so I just thought I'd type them in chat, but I can read them aloud if you want me to.
Yes, please.
Okay, my first note for the 21st remedy was, when you like something, you like the creator of it. When you're sick, it evokes sympathy from others around you. And my last note was, everything leads to your connection with your Lord.
MashaAllah, beautiful notes. I'm just pondering over the first one. When you like something, you like the creator of it. Wow, there's so many things we like. So it seems that there's so many ways to connect with our creator. Everything is a means, an opportunity to connect with our creator. Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair. That was my highlight for today. If nobody has anything to say, then we can stop here for today, inshallah. And next week we will pick up from the 22nd remedy. Thank you all for joining us and sharing in with your comments, thoughts, and expressing yourself out. Alhamdulillah, was very beneficial. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati sirra surat al-Fatiha. Ameen.